Captain stood on the bridge of the Dawn Seeker, staring at the massive structure floating in the darkness of space. 6 months ago, he and his crew had left Earth with one mission: explore the galaxy and find out if humanity was truly alone. Now, looking at the ancient station orbiting a dead star, knew the answer was far more complicated than anyone had expected. "Captain, the structure is at least 50,000 years old," said from her navigation console. Her fingers moved quickly across the holographic display, analyzing the data streaming from their sensors. "Maybe older. The materials don't match anything in our database." The chief engineer whistled softly. "It's still powered. After all this time, something is keeping the lights on." Doctor walked onto the bridge, carrying her. They had barely slept since they detected the station 3 days ago. Her eyes were bright with excitement despite the dark circles beneath them. "We need to go inside. This could be humanity's first contact with alien civilization." Nodded slowly. "Prepare the shuttle, you're with me. Keep the ship ready. If anything goes wrong, get back to Earth." 20 minutes later, their small shuttle docked with the ancient station. The airlock opened with a soft hiss, revealing corridors that stretched into darkness. Emergency lights flickered on as they entered, responding to their presence. The walls were covered in strange symbols and patterns that seemed to shift when viewed directly. "The air is breathable," said, checking her scanner. "Temperature is stable. It's like this place has been waiting for visitors." They walked deeper into the station, their boots echoing on metal floors. Led them through the maze of corridors, following the strongest power signatures. After 30 minutes, they found what they were looking for: a massive chamber filled with data terminals and holographic displays. Immediately began working on one of the terminals. The symbols on the screen were alien, but her translation software started making progress. "This is incredible. The database contains information about thousands of worlds, star maps spanning millions of years, trade routes, civilizations, treaties." "Look at this," said, pointing to one of the holographic displays. A three-dimensional map of the galaxy floated before them, showing countless routes connecting different star systems. But there was something strange about it. A large spherical region of space was completely empty of any routes or markings. "Every path goes around this area. Nothing goes through it." Leaned closer, his heart beating faster. He recognized the stars at the center of that empty sphere. "That's Earth. That's our solar system." The three of them stared at the map in silence. For months, they had wondered why humanity had never encountered alien life. Now they had an answer, but it raised even more questions. "They've been avoiding us," whispered. "The entire galaxy has been avoiding Earth." Over the next several hours, they as much data as they could, worked tirelessly to translate the alien records, piecing together fragments of information. The station had been built by a species called the Architects, the oldest spacefaring civilization the galaxy had ever known. They had existed millions of years ago, long before any of the current alien civilizations had even discovered fire. "I found something," said, her voice tight with tension. She pulled up a translated text on the main display. "It's a record from 12,000 years ago. Listen to this. 'The third world sleeps. Let it remain so. By order of the Architects, no vessel shall approach. No contact shall be made. This law stands eternal.'" "Third world," said. "That's Earth. We're the third planet from our sun." "But why?" asked. "What did they find on Earth that scared them so much?" Scrolled through more records, but most were corrupted or too damaged to translate. She found references to something called the Cascade and warnings about awakening those who carry it within, but the details were lost to time. "There's not enough information here," she said, frustrated. "We need to make contact with whoever is out there now. The civilizations that still exist, they must know something." Made his decision. "We're going back to Earth. Humanity needs to know what we've found. Then we'll figure out how to contact the rest of the galaxy." As they prepared to leave the station, his voice crackled over their communicators. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange. Energy readings from deep space. It's like someone is watching us." "Get the engines ready," ordered. "We're leaving now." They rushed back to their shuttle and launched, docking with the Dawn Seeker within minutes. As powered up, the ship's faster-than-light drive detected several ships appearing at the edge of the system. They were alien vessels, unlike anything humanity had ever designed. "They're not approaching," reported, "just watching." "They know we were at the station," said. "They know we found the records." The Dawn Seeker jumped into faster-than-light travel, leaving the ancient station and its mysterious watchers behind. During the long journey back to Earth, the crew studied the data they had recovered. Every piece of information pointed to the same conclusion. Humanity had been deliberately isolated from the rest of the galaxy for thousands of years. But the question remained, why? When they finally arrived at Earth, immediately contacted the planetary government. Within days, the news had spread across the world. Humanity was not alone in the universe, but instead of welcoming neighbors, they had discovered they were prisoners in an invisible cage. Scientists, politicians, and military leaders all demanded answers. Some wanted to reach out peacefully to the alien civilizations. Others wanted to prepare for war, assuming the worst. But everyone agreed on one thing: humanity could not accept eternal isolation. Ambassador, Earth's most experienced diplomat, was chosen to lead humanity's first contact mission. He selected a team of experts and prepared to venture into the galaxy, seeking an audience with whoever had enforced the architect's ancient law. As watched the diplomatic vessel prepare for launch, he thought about the warning they had found. The third world sleeps. Let it remain so. What happened if Earth woke up? He had a feeling they were about to find out. Ambassador had imagined first contact with aliens in many different ways. He had pictured celebrations, cultural exchanges, and peaceful negotiations. What he had not expected was fear. Cold, absolute fear in the eyes of every alien diplomat who looked at him. The Galactic Coalition's headquarters was a massive space station in the Andromeda sector, far from Earth. Hundreds of different species worked and lived here, representing 847 member civilizations. The station was beautiful, with towers of crystal and metal reaching toward the stars. But as and his team walked through the corridors, crowds of aliens stopped and stared. Some hurried away. Others whispered in languages his translator couldn't process. "They're afraid of us," said quietly. She was assistant, young but sharp. "Look at how they move away." Chancellor of the Empire finally agreed to meet with them. They were one of the oldest species in the coalition, having traveled among the stars for over 400,000 years. Looked almost human, except for the silver skin and 3 eyes that blinked independently. He sat across from in a meeting room, surrounded by armed guards. "You should not be here," said without greeting. "Your species should have remained in your system." "We have the right to explore," replied calmly. "We have the right to meet our neighbors in peace." "Rights?" His middle eye focused on with intensity. "You speak of rights when you carry doom in your very cells, when your existence threatens every living thing in this galaxy." Kept his expression neutral, though his heart raced. "We don't understand what you mean. We came here seeking friendship, not conflict." "Then you are ignorant of your own nature," said. "Perhaps that is worse." The meeting ended badly. Refused to recognize Earth's existence in any official capacity. He would not allow humanity to join the coalition. He would not even acknowledge that humans were a sentient species deserving of rights under galactic law. For 3 weeks tried to make progress. He met with dozens of different species, but the response was always the same: fear, rejection, and warnings to return home. Some diplomats were apologetic. Others were hostile, but none would explain why. Then, one evening, a diplomat named from the Confederacy approached in a quiet garden outside the main station. Was small, with blue skin and large eyes that reflected the starlight. I should not be speaking with you, said, looking around nervously. But you deserve to know the truth. Please, said, help me understand. Pulled out a small data device. 50,000 years ago, the architects left behind one law before they disappeared. Just one rule that every civilization in the galaxy has followed since then. Never approach the third world. Never make contact with those who live there. Never, under any circumstances, provoke them. But why? Asked. The architects never explained, said. They just left that single command and vanished. For thousands of years, every species has obeyed it, because 7 times in galactic history, someone tried to violate that law. Activated the data device showing historical records. 3 of those civilizations were destroyed completely. 4 simply vanished without any trace. The most recent attempt was 8,000 years ago. A military expedition of 200 ships entered your solar system, trying to study Earth from orbit. None of them ever came back. We detected massive energy readings from your planet then. Silence. Felt cold despite the warm evening air. We didn't do anything. 8,000 years ago, humans were still living in small tribes. We had barely discovered agriculture. That's what makes it so terrifying, said softly. Whatever destroyed those ships, it wasn't your technology. It was something else. Something that exists on your world regardless of your level of development. Back on Earth, worked with Doctor to investigate information. They searched through human history, looking for any evidence of alien contact 8,000 years ago. They found nothing obvious, but noticed something strange in ancient myths and legends from that time period. Look at this, said, showing a collection of stories from different cultures around the world. Every continent has legends about the sky war from around this time. Lights in the heavens, stars that fell and were devoured by darkness, gods battling in the clouds. They saw something, said. Our ancestors witnessed whatever happened to those alien ships. Meanwhile, the political situation grew worse. Chancellor delivered an ultimatum too. Humanity must cease all space exploration beyond their own solar system immediately. If they refused, the coalition would establish a military blockade around Earth. You're talking about war, said. We're talking about survival, replied. The survival of every other species in the galaxy. Your people may not understand the danger you represent, but we do. We've seen it before. Refused the ultimatum. Humanity had the right to explore the stars, and no alien government could take that away. Earth's leaders supported his decision. They began preparing their military forces for a possible conflict. The coalition mobilized 10,000 warships and began moving them toward Earth's sector of space. Admiral, commander of Earth's combined defense fleet, could only muster 800 ships. The odds were hopeless, but humanity would not surrender. Doctor made a breakthrough in her research on the architect's language. Working day and night, she managed to translate more of the ancient records from the station had discovered. The complete warning made her blood run cold. She immediately contacted with a video call. Her hands shook as she read from her screen. The third world harbors the cascade. Do not awaken it. Do not engage it. Do not provoke those who carry it within. The cascade repeated, What is that? I don't know yet, said. But according to these records, it's something that exists inside humans, inside all of us. And the architects believed that if it ever woke up completely, it would destroy everything. Can we stop it? Asked. Looked at him with fear in her eyes. I don't think we can stop something we don't even understand, and I'm afraid we're about to wake it up whether we want to or not. As the coalition fleet drew closer to Earth, both sides prepared for a war that neither truly wanted. But ancient forces were stirring, responding to the growing tension. Something that had slept for millions of years was beginning to notice the conflict. The cascade was waking up. Doctor had always believed that the universe followed certain rules. Physics was predictable. Quantum mechanics, while strange, still operated within defined boundaries, but the readings on her screen made no sense at all. "Run the scan again," she told her assistant. "There must be an error." The assistant shook his head. "I've run it 12 times, doctor. The results are always the same." Studied the quantum field data from Earth's atmosphere. According to every law of physics she knew, space-time should be smooth and consistent. But around Earth, the fabric of reality showed tiny cracks, microscopic fractures that shouldn't exist. It was as if reality itself was thinner here, stretched tight like a drum skin ready to tear. "These patterns extend out to the moon," she said quietly. "Maybe farther. Something is wrong with space-time in our entire solar system." Across the city, Doctor was making his own disturbing discovery. The geneticist had been studying human DNA for 20 years, but he had never noticed this particular sequence before. Then again, he had never been looking for alien modifications. "It's in everyone," he told his research team. "Every human on Earth carries this genetic sequence, about 2.3% of our total genome." "Could it be junk DNA?" one of his colleagues asked. "No," said firmly. "This is too complex, too organized. It's like a machine built into our cells, but it's turned off, dormant." He ran comparison tests with genetic samples from 200 different alien species provided by the coalition. Every other species had normal DNA. Only humans carried this strange, inactive sequence. "What happens if it turns on?" his colleague asked. Didn't answer. He didn't want to think about it. Captain couldn't stay on Earth while the coalition fleet approached. He needed answers, real answers about what the architects had feared. Against direct orders, he took the Dawn Seeker on a secret mission to the galactic core, where legends said the architects had once existed. Navigated them through dangerous space, avoiding coalition patrols. Kept the engines running at maximum efficiency. Doctor studied every scrap of data about the architects, trying to predict where they might find more information. After 3 weeks of searching, they found it. A moon-sized archive station hidden in the debris field of an ancient supernova. The station was damaged but still functional. Managed to access the main database, and what she found made her call everyone to the archive room immediately. "Watch this," she said, activating a holographic recording. The image showed beings that looked almost human, but taller and more graceful. They moved through beautiful cities under alien skies. The architects in their glory days, peaceful and advanced beyond measure. They seeded life across the galaxy, explained as the recording continued. Millions of years ago, they visited thousands of worlds and helped evolution along. Most of the species in the coalition today exist because of the architects. The recording changed, showing the architects discovering early Earth. Primitive humans lived in caves, barely beginning to use tools. The architects seemed pleased, marking humanity as another successful project. But then the recording showed something else. The architects' scientists detected an anomaly near Earth. Something existed there that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. A quantum entity, vast and formless, that existed partially outside normal space-time. And somehow, this entity had bonded with the primitive humans at the genetic level. "They called it the Cascade," said, reading the translated text beneath the images. The recording continued, showing architects debating what to do. Some wanted to destroy Earth immediately. Others wanted to study the phenomenon. But their chief scientist warned them, any interference might trigger the very disaster they feared. The entity existed in a state between dimensions, neither truly alive nor dead. It was drawn to consciousness, to complexity, to conflict. It fed on these things but remained dormant as long as its host species stayed primitive. The danger came when the host species achieved advanced technology and expanded consciousness. If that happened, the cascade would fully awaken. It would use its human hosts as anchors to flood into normal spacetime, Physics would break down. Matter and energy would become interchangeable. Consciousness would gain godlike power to reshape reality itself. The architects called it a reality cascade event, the end of the universe as they knew it. So they isolated us, whispered. They built the taboo, spread the fear, and hoped we'd never advance enough to trigger the awakening. But we did advance, said. We built cities, technology, spacecraft. Why hasn't the cascade awakened already? Pulled up more data. According to this, it needs a trigger, strong emotions across the entire species, billions of minds focused on the same feeling at the same time. As long as humanity remained relatively peaceful and divided, the cascade would stay dormant. Understood immediately. But now there's a war coming, the Coalition's blockade if they attack Earth. Billions of humans will feel the same thing at once, finished. Fear, anger, desperation. That's exactly the kind of trigger the architects warned about. They sent their findings back to Earth immediately, using encrypted channels. Doctor and Doctor reviewed the new information alongside their own research. Everything fit together into a terrifying picture. The quantum fractures I detected, said during an emergency conference. They're not random. They're places where the cascade is pressing against our reality, trying to break through. And the dormant DNA sequence, added. It's the mechanism. When it activates, it will turn every human into a living gateway for the cascade to enter our dimension. Ambassador sat in his office aboard the Coalition station, reading these reports with growing dread. The Coalition fleet would arrive at Earth in less than 2 weeks. When they did, they would establish their blockade. There would be resistance. There would be fighting. And billions of humans would experience the same emotions simultaneously. He tried one more time to convince Chancellor to stand down. If you attack, you'll cause the very disaster you're trying to prevent. If we do nothing, you'll eventually trigger it yourselves, replied. Better to contain you now while there's still time. You're not listening, said desperately. There is no containment. The cascade exists outside normal space-time. Your blockade won't stop it. Your weapons can't kill it. The only way to prevent disaster is to avoid the trigger. Then surrender, said coldly. Submit to permanent isolation. Accept that humanity must never leave Earth. That's the only way to guarantee you'll never reach the critical threshold. New humanity would never accept that. They had tasted freedom among the stars. They had seen other civilizations thriving across the galaxy. To be told they must remain imprisoned on one world forever, for crimes they hadn't committed, for a danger they hadn't asked for. No, humanity would fight first. As he ended the call, entered with urgent news. Sir, we're detecting energy readings from Earth. Doctor says the DNA sequence is beginning to activate. Not in everyone yet, but in isolated individuals across the planet. The stress of the situation, the fear of war. It's starting. Closed his eyes. They had run out of time. The cascade was waking up, and once it started, he didn't know if anything could stop it. The galaxy's oldest fear was about to become reality, and humanity stood at the center of it all. Admiral stood on the command deck of the Earth Defense Force flagship, watching the Coalition armada approach on the tactical display. 10,000 enemy ships against her fleet of 800. In any conventional war, this would be called a massacre, not a battle. All ships hold formation, she ordered calmly. Do not fire unless fired upon. Her officers looked nervous, but they trusted her. Had fought in 3 regional conflicts during her career. She knew when to fight and when to find another way. But this time, she wasn't sure there was another way. The Coalition fleet stopped at the edge of Earth's solar system, forming a massive blockade. For 3 days, both sides waited. The tension grew with each passing hour. On Earth, people watched the skies nervously, wondering if war would come. News broadcasts showed the alien fleet hanging in space like a sword about to fall. Then the accident happened. A coalition patrol ship, responding to what it thought was a weapons lock, fired a warning shot toward a human vessel. The shot went wide, but it struck something else. A colony transport carrying 50,000 civilians to the new settlement on Mars. The transport exploded instantly. 50,000 lives ended in a flash of light. The news reached Earth within minutes. Cities erupted in protests. Millions of people took to the streets, demanding action. The coalition claimed it was an accident, but that didn't matter anymore. Humanity had been pushed too far. Doctor was in his laboratory when his instruments went crazy. The dormant DNA sequence wasn't activating in isolated individuals anymore. It was activating everywhere. Across the entire planet, in every human being, the ancient genetic machine was coming to life. "It's the colony ship," he said, understanding immediately. "The deaths, the collective grief and anger, billions of people feeling the same thing at once." He called Doctor. "The activation has started. Do you see it?" Was staring at her quantum field readings in horror. "The fractures in space-time are widening. Something is pushing through from the other side. We have hours at most before this reaches critical mass." Ambassador received both calls within seconds of each other. He had feared this moment, but that didn't make it any easier. He immediately contacted the diplomat who had helped him before. "We need to go to Earth," said. "Now, we need to get to the origin point where the cascade first appeared." "That's suicide," replied. "If the cascade is awakening." "Then we're all dead anyway," interrupted. "Unless we can figure out how to control it. The architect's records mention the origin point in Africa. If we can understand what the cascade really is, maybe we can direct it instead of just letting it destroy everything." Hesitated, then agreed. "I'll arrange a ship, but we should bring Chancellor too. If we're going to do this, the coalition needs to witness it." An hour later, a small diplomatic shuttle raced toward Earth carrying an unlikely group. Doctor, Chancellor, and they landed in East Africa, in the gorge where the architects had first detected the cascade millions of years ago. As they stepped out of the shuttle, they could see reality itself breaking down. The sky flickered between day and night. Gravity felt wrong, pulling in directions that didn't exist. Time seemed to flow differently in different places. Some areas moved faster, others slower. "It's already starting," said, her voice shaking. "The cascade is breaching into our dimension." They walked deeper into the gorge, following readings. Stumbled as she saw something that wasn't there, or maybe was there, but in a different dimension. Chancellor, three eyes blinked independently, each seeing different versions of reality. "I understand now why my ancestors feared this," said quietly. "This isn't just destruction, it's transformation. The universe itself is being rewritten." At the center of the gorge, they found the focal point. The air shimmered and twisted. Images appeared and disappeared, past, present, and possible futures all existing simultaneously. And through it all, they could feel something vast and ancient becoming aware of them. Doctor, driven by scientific curiosity even in the face of cosmic horror, reached out with her mind toward the cascade. She expected pain or fear, but instead she felt recognition. The cascade acknowledged her. It wasn't hostile. It wasn't even truly conscious in the way she understood consciousness. Visions flooded her mind. She saw the cascade as it really was, a quantum probability field that had become entangled with human evolution at the very beginning. It had shaped humanity's unique capacity for imagination, for abstract thought, for transforming ideas into reality. Every human advancement, every work of art, every scientific breakthrough was the cascade expressing itself through its hosts. "It's not trying to destroy us," said aloud, though she wasn't sure if she was speaking to her companions or to the cascade itself. "It's trying to evolve with us, to expand what's possible." But the activation was being driven by rage and fear. Billions of human minds, focused on anger at the coalition, were shaping what the cascade would become when it fully breached into their dimension. If this continued, the awakening would be violent and destructive. "We need to change what humanity is feeling," said understanding suddenly. "The cascade responds to consciousness. If we can shift the collective emotion." "How?" demanded. "You can't change the minds of billions of people." "No," agreed, "but we can give them a choice." He activated his communicator, broadcasting on all channels to every human on Earth and in space. His voice was calm but urgent. "This is Ambassador. By now, you all know what's happening. The cascade is awakening. We can't stop it, but we can guide it. Right now, your fear and anger are shaping what it will become. If we let those emotions control us, we'll create something terrible." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "But if we choose something else, if we focus on hope instead of hate, on building instead of destroying, the cascade will become something different, something better. I'm asking all of humanity to make that choice. Not for the coalition, not for the aliens who feared us, but for ourselves, for what we want to become." For a long moment, nothing changed. Then felt it, a shift in the collective consciousness of humanity. People were listening. They were choosing. The activation continued, but its nature began to change. The rage remained, but it was tempered now with determination, with hope, with the dream of a better future. Chancellor watched as the cascade responded to this new direction. "It's not enough. The awakening is too far along. When it completes, it will still breach into our dimension, and the consequences." "Then we don't stop it," said suddenly. "We join it." Everyone turned to look at the small alien diplomat. His large eyes reflected the shifting reality around them. "The architects tried to prevent this through isolation," continued. "But maybe that was the wrong approach. Maybe the only way through this is together. If the cascade is shaped by consciousness, then let it be shaped by all consciousness, not just human. Let the galaxy join with humanity to guide the awakening." Stared at as if he had gone mad. "You're suggesting we deliberately expose ourselves to the cascade. That goes against 50,000 years of caution." "Your caution led us here anyway," replied. "We can either face this in fear or we can face it with courage. I'm tired of being afraid." Made the decision. He broadcast again, this time on coalition frequencies. "To all species of the Galactic Coalition, we need your help. The cascade is awakening and we can't control it alone. But together, joining our consciousness with humanity's, we might be able to guide it. This is a choice each species must make for themselves. We won't force anyone, but if you're willing to help us, reach out with your minds. Join us." The response was not universal. Many species refused, too afraid to risk themselves. But others, inspired by courage or simply tired of living in fear, began to open their minds to the awakening cascade. The change was immediate and profound. As billions of human minds joined with trillions of alien consciousnesses across the galaxy, the nature of the awakening transformed completely. The cascade, fed by this unprecedented cooperation, began to reshape reality in ways that preserved it rather than destroyed it. The universe wasn't ending. It was expanding. And humanity, the species everyone had feared, was becoming the bridge between the old reality and the new. The transformation lasted 7 days. During that time, reality itself was fluid. Those who had joined their consciousness with the cascade existed in a strange state between what was and what could be. They could perceive multiple dimensions simultaneously, see probabilities branching like trees, and feel the thoughts of beings thousands of light years away. Doctor was the first to understand what they had created. The cascade hadn't broken physics. It had expanded it. New laws emerged from the quantum field, allowing consciousness to interface directly with matter and energy. Thought could shape reality, but not in the wild, uncontrolled way the architects had feared. The joining of billions of minds had created a framework, a structure that kept the power stable. It's like we've added a new dimension to the universe, she explained to Doctor as they stood in her laboratory, which now existed in both physical space and in the quantum field simultaneously. The old laws still work: gravity, thermodynamics, relativity. They're all intact, but now there's something more. Consciousness is no longer just an observer of reality, it's a participant. Looked at his hands, watching them flicker between solid matter and quantum probability. How do we control this? How do we make sure people don't accidentally reshape reality every time they have a strong thought? That's what these are for, said, showing him a device she and her team had been developing. Cascade anchors. They allow conscious control of the quantum field without losing cohesion with normal reality. Think of them as stabilizers. Captain returned to Earth to find his transformed. Cities now had buildings that existed in multiple states at once, shifting based on the needs of their inhabitants. Travel between planets no longer required ships for those who learned consciousness navigation. They could simply think themselves to their destination, their bodies converting to quantum states and reforming elsewhere. But not everyone could do this yet. It required training, practice, and the right mental discipline. That's where the Cascade Academy came in. Admiral and Ambassador established the Academy together, a place where humans and aliens could learn to navigate their new abilities responsibly. The first class included members from 40 different species, all volunteers who had joined the awakening. Remember, told the students during their first lesson, power without wisdom is dangerous. The Cascade gives us incredible abilities, but we must use them carefully. We can reshape matter, but that doesn't mean we should. We can travel instantly across the galaxy, but we should ask permission before appearing on someone else's world. With this power comes responsibility. Not all species had joined the awakening. Many had refused, too afraid of what it might mean. The galaxy now divided itself into two groups, those who embraced the Cascade and those who rejected it. The division created new tensions. The old Galactic Coalition dissolved, replaced by two separate organizations. The Quantum Collective included all species who had accepted the transformation. They could travel freely, share consciousness when desired, and access abilities that seemed like magic to those outside. The Traditional Alliance consisted of species who chose to remain as they were. They weren't necessarily hostile to the collective, but they feared losing their identity, their individuality, their old way of life. Chancellor, despite having experienced the awakening firsthand, chose to lead the Traditional Alliance. I don't deny that what you've achieved is remarkable, told during a diplomatic meeting. But my people have existed for 400,000 years without these powers. We're not ready to change our fundamental nature. We respect that choice, replied. No one should be forced to join the collective. But we hope that someday, when your people see that we haven't become monsters, you might reconsider. Doctor continued her research into the Cascade's origins. The more she learned, the more questions she had. Her latest discovery troubled her deeply. The Cascade wasn't unique. Evidence suggested that similar quantum entities existed throughout the universe, each one waiting for the right host species to bond with. There could be dozens of them, she told during a research briefing. Maybe hundreds, each one slightly different, each one granting different abilities. Humanity got the Cascade, which connects to consciousness and reality manipulation. But what about the others? What powers do they grant? Understood the implications immediately. You think we might encounter other species like us, other beings who carry these quantum entities? I'm certain of it, said, and we need to be prepared. Some of those species might be friendly, others might not. The architects feared the Cascade, but they might have been dealing with something even worse from another species. This led to new mission. The Dawn Seeker was upgraded with Cascade technology, allowing it to travel far beyond the known galaxy. His crew now included both humans and aliens from the Quantum Collective. Together, they would explore the unknown regions of space, searching for other civilizations that might harbor similar cosmic powers. Now a master of consciousness navigation could sense things across vast distances. She detected anomalies in distant galaxies, quantum signatures that resembled the cascade but were distinctly different. "There's something out there," she said, studying the sensor data. "Multiple somethings. We're not alone in carrying these entities." As the Dawn Seeker prepared for its journey, worked on Earth to establish protocols for interaction between the collective and the Alliance. It wasn't easy. Species from the traditional Alliance often feared and misunderstood what the collective members could do. "They think we're gods now," told. "Some worship us, others hate us, but very few see us as equals anymore." "Then we need to prove we're still the same people," said. "Just with new abilities, we still make mistakes, we still need help. We're not gods, we're just different." Became an ambassador between the two factions, using his unique position as someone who had experienced the awakening, but understood the fears of those who hadn't. He helped negotiate treaties that protected the rights of both groups, ensuring that collective members couldn't abuse their powers and that Alliance members wouldn't be left behind as the galaxy evolved. The engineer discovered something fascinating about the old civilizations that had vanished when they approached Earth. They hadn't died. Using his new abilities, he could perceive them existing in higher dimensional states. They had been pulled into the cascade prematurely, during partial awakenings throughout history, and had become trapped in quantum probability states. "We can bring them back," told Admiral. "With the proper techniques, we can help them regain physical form." The first rescue mission was successful. A species called the who had vanished 8,000 years ago returned to normal space. They were confused, having experienced those 8 as only moments, but they were grateful. They told stories of watching the galaxy from outside normal time, unable to interact but able to observe. "We saw everything," the leader said. "We saw humanity grow from primitive tribes to spacefaring civilization. We saw the fear spread across the galaxy, and we saw you succeed where we failed. You controlled the cascade instead of letting it control you." As years passed, the quantum collective grew slowly but steadily. More species chose to join as they saw the benefits and realized the dangers had been overstated. The Cascade Academy trained thousands of beings in the responsible use of their new abilities. Doctor made another breakthrough. They could dampen the cascade's effects in specific areas. This allowed traditional Alliance species to visit collective worlds without feeling overwhelmed by the quantum activity. It also meant that children could grow up without being exposed to the full power until they were old enough to handle it. In the gorge where the awakening had reached its peak, humanity built a monument. It was a simple stone pillar with 2 inscriptions. The first was the architect's original warning, translated into every known language. "The third world harbors the cascade. Do not awaken it. Do not engage it. Do not provoke those who carry it within." Below that, humanity had added their own message. "We awakened, we endured, we transcended. May those who follow do the same." Captain stood before the monument before his departure, thinking about everything that had changed. Humanity had been feared, isolated, and nearly destroyed. Now they stood as bridges between the old universe and the new, between species who embraced change and those who preferred tradition. "Are you ready?" asked, approaching him. "No," admitted with a smile, "but that's never stopped us before." The Dawn Seeker launched, heading beyond the known galaxy into the vast unknown. Out there, other quantum entities waited. Other species had bonded with cosmic powers beyond imagination. Some would be allies, some would be enemies, but humanity would face them not alone, but alongside the friends they had made, the civilization they had helped transform. The cascade had awakened and the universe would never be the same. But that wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. The real journey was just starting, and humanity stood ready to face whatever came next. They had proven that even the galaxy's oldest fears could be overcome through courage, cooperation, and the choice to hope instead of hate. In the quantum field that now connected billions of minds across countless worlds, a new dream was being born. Not the architect's dream of careful isolation, not the coalition's dream of enforced stasis, but humanity's dream, a universe where anyone, regardless of species or origin, could grow, learn, and become something more than they were before. The deadliest power the galaxy had ever known had become its greatest hope. And Earth, the world everyone had avoided for 50,000 years, was now the center of a new age of exploration, wonder, and infinite possibility.